Welcome back to the Polish Podcast, where we embolden women in their faith and work. Your work matters, and at Polish Network, we provide the connection you crave, professional development you deserve, and the gospel that you need. Join us each episode as we deep dive the themes we're exploring in the Polish community, featuring a variety of guests sharing their perspectives and experiences as Christian working women. Whether you face challenges like hiding your faith or wrestling with imposter syndrome, we're here for you. Whatever brought you here today, we are so thrilled you decided to join us. And I hope these stories resonate and spark a renewed sense of purpose and embolden you to flourish on your leadership journey. Today, we're talking with Amy Cedrone, Executive Director and powerhouse behind the Polish Network. If you're new here and you're curious about Polish Network, this conversation is for you. Through Polish chapters, WiM Collaboratories, online resources, and the Boldly Conference, we embolden women in their faith and work. Amy is here to unveil what's in store for Polish 2024. So get ready for an inspiring podcast episode filled with wisdom and a sneak peek into the exciting future of the Polish Network with Executive Director Amy Cedrone. Stay tuned. Hey, ladies of the Polish Network, ready to transform this Lent? Check out our free Lent guide tailored for dynamic working women just like you. Dive into 40 days of self-reflection with weekly devotionals fitting seamlessly into your busy life, offering moments of peace and connection throughout the sacred season. Visit polishnetwork.org for your free PDF today. Make this Lent unforgettable. Gather your friends and spread the word. Visit our website now and embrace this journey of faith and reflection together. Go to polishnetwork.org to learn more. Today, we have a special guest. We have our Executive Director, Amy Cedrone, here with us. Amy, thank you so much for joining us today.
It is my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to have you on. And we're so excited to dive in to explore what's in store for Polished in the year 2024. But to kick things off, I'm thinking about the listener today who may not be familiar with Polished or who you are. So could you share with us who is Amy Cedrone?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking the question. Yeah, so it's funny, and I think this is a story for so many working women. Like,
yes.
Don't you guys feel like plan B is plan best? That is certainly how I ended up at Polished. It was a plan B. It wasn't anything that I ever had my sights set on. I actually was a pastor for many years, a women's pastor, a young adult pastor, a teaching pastor, and I loved that so much. And, our church actually supported the Polish Network. So I knew the founder, Kat Armstrong, and the previous executive director, Dr. Joy Dahl, is a dear friend of mine. And so I was familiar with the work that Polished had done, but I was happy in my role as a pastor and didn't see myself ever involved necessarily. But God had given me such a burden for working women because of that role. And so it turns out both of my boys ended up being seniors at the same time, one in college and one in high school.
Oh, wow.
And our oldest son had received a pilot position in the Air Force. So we knew that he was going to be launching and literally launching very soon. And I just was at that point in my career as a pastor, I just did not want to miss that time with my boys. And so I took the very hard step of stepping out of that role. And it happened to be in February of 2020.
Oh, my goodness.
So you guys, that was an easy year for all of us.
No.
But it was a perfect timing to step out of that so that I could have more time with them. We got them launched. And then I was asked to speak at an online event at Polished. And then through that was asked to come on part-time as national director. During COVID, the Polish Network actually experienced an incredible season of growth through a
Wow.
webinar called Sheroes of the Faith. And we had women from all over the country join in. And so all of a sudden, we're going national. And so they hired me as a national director. And then through that, my friend Joy stepped into another role, and I was asked to come in as the executive director. And that's how I ended up here in this role. But I've got two boys. They're both married now. And to my daughter-in-loves that I call them. And I'm married to Tony, and he is my biggest cheerleader. I'm actually currently recovering from some surgery, so I'm kind of lounged back in this chair. If you could see the opposite side of the screen, you'd see my foot propped up.
Oh my goodness.
Recovering from that. So this should be a really fun interview, Jane.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. We really appreciate you coming on here as you're recovering from that, for sure. For sure. Well, Amy, thank you so much for sharing pieces of your story and just how God really guided you to the role that you're sitting in today. And I see God's hand through your story, and just like you said, plan B is plan best, and just really leaning into that. You're such an example to all of us on our team of that, for sure. So, Amy, could you provide an overview of what the Polish Network is and its mission?
Yeah, you said it right at the top. It's a simple mission. We exist to embolden women in their faith and work, not their faith or work, their faith and work. We really hope to de-silo these kind of buckets that we often put ourselves in as working women, our work life and our spiritual life or our home life. And we're like, no, it's a holistic thing. God is in all of that. And so we want women to be bold in how they live their lives, how they walk their faith journeys. We want them to express who Christ is. We want them to express their Christ-given identities. But we also want them to be strengthened in their work, in their professional development, in their leadership. One time I heard that men are like waffles and women are like spaghettis, spaghetti. Everything runs together, right? For us women. I think for men too, that's true as well.
Sure.
But, we really do this idea of emboldening in all aspects of our lives is more than just empowering. We want to do more than empower you. We want you to be bold at who God has made you to be as a working woman. And it's more than equipping. We certainly do that. We have some amazing online resources, but it's more than just an equipping. It's an equipping for a purpose. And that is to make you more bold in who God has made you to be and step into those things that God has for you. And so that's our mission, to embolden women in their faith and work. And we do that, I think you might have even mentioned, we do that 3 ways, actually 4 ways.
Yeah.
We do that through chapter gatherings. So these are local, eyeball to eyeball, in person. Most of them are monthly gatherings. We do that through something that we call collaboratories. This is new to us. These are leadership peer groups that meet monthly and go through a curriculum. And then we do that also through our online resources, which we can chat about if you want to. And then a big way that we do that is through the Boldly Conference, which happens every October. So that's kind of the nutshell version of what the Polish Network does.
We're going to take a short break to share some exciting opportunities for you to get involved with Polish Network. Stick with us. Love meets leadership at Polish chapter gatherings, where working women unite each month in various locations across the United States. This month, we're diving into the topic of leading with love. Great leaders love well, and we're on a mission to embody that love in every aspect of our lives. From showing up for others to sacrificing for others, we're diving into what it means to authentically see one another. So don't miss out. Be sure to connect with us this month and find a Polish chapter near you at polishnetwork.org. Because at Polished, we're not just building a network, we're creating a community that leads with love. I love that we have these 4 avenues that we use to embolden working women, and women have options to kind of choose what lane they kind of want to explore. And I kind of want to deep dive some of those. So for starters, in regards to chapter gatherings, What can women expect when they attend one? What does that look like?
Yeah. What's really cool is really in the last 4 or 5 years, these have grown, and we are definitely planting new chapters all over the nation. And so, we started right here in the Dallas Metroplex, and we've just kind of expanded from there. But
Sure.
the chapter gatherings really, that's kind of the flagship kind of polished experience, if you will. That's kind of
Mm-hmm.
where it all started. And the idea of the chapter gathering started with Kat Armstrong, who was one of our co-founders.
Mm-hmm.
And, she was a pastor's wife, but she was also an entrepreneur. She didn't have kids when she started the Polish Network. And she would go to church, and there's some great things for her, but she couldn't attend a Bible study because it happened during the workday for her. So when she would go on Sundays, she didn't have kids to talk about. She didn't, she wanted to be able to engage with other women about work and about her experience for the best hours of her day.
Mm-hmm.
What did that look like? How can they support one another? And so the chapter started as a monthly gathering of working women to be able to talk about just that. Like, how does their faith affect their work, their ethics? How can they grow in their faith as working women? How can they see their workplace as their mission field as
Mm-hmm.
Christian women? And so that's kind of why the chapter started. And what that looks like back in the day, it was a lunchtime gathering at the Tower Club on one of the high rises in downtown
Oh,
Dallas.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And women got together to hear from a speaker who's a kind of maybe further along in her career, who's an
Mm-hmm.
expert in her field
Mm-hmm.
about various topics that pertain to working women. And that model is essentially the same. Now, I will say that as we've grown, the how of that has changed. Not all chapters meet at lunch. We have some that have met after work for a cocktail hour, or they've met for dinner. We had one chapter in Southern Dallas meet for brunch on Saturday mornings. That worked really well for them.
That's really
But the
cool.
premise was the same. We'd have amazing speakers, amazing working women come in and share about their faith journey, their expertise as working women, and that's essentially stayed the same the whole time.
I love the flexibility of that. It's not a cookie cutter, has to meet at lunchtime. There's ability to grow and kind of make it your own, no matter where you may be located. Because,
Right,
I know there's quite a few chapter gatherings in Texas, because that's where it all started.
right.
But it's growing, like you said, and different chapters are, I know there's one, I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio. I know there's one that's going to be launched
That's
soon
right.
here. And that's really exciting to me, and to see how that can be tailored to the audience here, to the women
Right.
that need this resource here. So I love the flexibility of that, for
Let me
sure.
share one other thing that I
Yeah.
love about the purpose of the chapter gatherings. It's kind of a secondary effect of the chapter.
Okay. Yeah.
And that is, there's a leadership opportunities that arise for women
Oh, cool.
in the chapters. And, we at the Polish Network believe in the church. We love the church.
Mm-hmm.
We want to uphold and cheerlead the church. But for some women, leadership opportunities aren't available within their church communities.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we offer are leadership opportunities within those chapter gatherings. We want every
Wow.
chapter to be run by 2 directors.
Mm-hmm.
There are other leadership opportunities in there for older women, per se, mentoring roles, advisory roles. If you're a woman that is maybe knocking on on retirement's door, we want you in Polish. There's a
Mm-hmm.
leadership role for you there. There's kind of a leadership development pathway through the chapters. You might start as a greeter and work your way up through being a table discussion leader to maybe running registration. But there's opportunities to lead that sometimes working women aren't afforded in their own church bodies. So that's kind of one wonderful side effect, if you will,
Yes.
of being involved in a chapter. And the other thing, talking about churches, that we found really just wonderful are our church partnerships and our business
Mm-hmm.
partnerships. There are so many churches that are for working women.
Mm-hmm.
And the Polish Network gets to be a liaison between working women and those churches. And so there's a lot of invitations to come sit with me at church. I've got a great church that supports working women. I think you'd find a home here. So in a lot of ways, Polished acts is kind of a back door to these local churches that love and support working women. And so those are kind of some wonderful side effects, if you will, of being involved in a chapter as well.
No, I love that. And I love how we can come alongside others to connect them to the local church, because I know that is a big passion that we have as an organization, because that's where growth happens. And sometimes women are like, or not all women, but some women may be like, I don't know of a church that supports my leadership, and we can be that resource for them. That's such a needed thing. And I think it's so cool that we get to be a part of that, for sure.
Yes.
So as a part of these Polished chapter gatherings, we typically investigate different themes each month with these chapter gatherings. And we usually invite different speakers to come who are considered an expert on that theme. So what themes will we be exploring this winter, springtime in the coming months?
Yeah. So we are kind of in a 3-semester focus on leadership, lead up, lead in, and lead out. And so that's kind of the overarching theme of we're kind of right in the middle of that. Right. And this coming semester, our theme is to lead outward. How do we lead others? How do we lead others well? And so February, our theme is lead with love. It's February after all. So how is the love of Christ evident in you as you lead others? And leadership doesn't have to be explicit. It can be implicit. So you may not be in a formalized leadership role, but we believe that as a follower of Jesus Christ, we are told to go and make disciples. That is leadership. So how do you lead with love is February. How do you lead in collaboration? This is something that's really important to the Polished Network. Is we have a very collaborative outlook within Polished, and then also as Polished is a faith and work organization for women, we also are collaborating with other faith and work organizations for women. So this is a really important kind of distinctive about Polished. So lead with collaboration is March. April is leading in your communication. So how do you lead others by the way you communicate? How do you communicate well so you can do that? May is lead with care. This is similar to lead with love, but love is an emotion. Caring is like, how do you actually care for one another in the way that you lead them? Are you leading with empathy and compassion? And then June is lead with enthusiasm. You know, we've all been under leaders who are not enthusiastic about what they're doing. And so how do we lead in a way that others will want to follow? How does our enthusiasm for our mission and our work impact those that are on our team? And so those are some of the themes that we've got going on this next semester.
Well, I'm really excited. I've been exploring these themes with some of the guests that we're going to be having on the show in the coming months. So if you want a taste of what types of things we're talking about here with these themes, you know, if your next right step could be listening to an episode of our Polished podcast. And for sure, we will be plugging ways to connect with Polished in the chapter gatherings that could be near you, or maybe God's stirring in your heart to launch one. So, yes, come on, let's bring it. So I'm really excited. Yes, I'm really excited for the conversations that I've had so far with the women I've recorded with. And I'm excited for you to listen to them. So yeah, definitely tune in, get your feet wet with these conversations, and we'll definitely be able to connect you in ways to connect with the Polished Network in our chapter gatherings. Stay tuned as we're about to break for a moment to bring you exciting opportunities to connect with Polished Network. So keep those ears on. You may have heard of employee resource groups, and maybe your company has them. But did you know that many companies have Christian employee resource groups that provide support for integrating your faith in your work? Some of those companies include American Airlines, Intel, Texas Instruments, and PayPal. You can learn more about what it looks like to start a Christian employee resource group, including how to address HR and legal concerns at the virtual T-Factor event Polished is offering in partnership with the Rooted Sisters. It's scheduled for Wednesday, February 21st, and registration is free. So if you're interested, go to polishednetwork.org to learn more or click the link in our show notes below. Amy, another avenue we talked about is a WiM Collaboratory. How does a WiM Collaboratory differ from a Polished chapter gathering, and what is it?
Yeah, I'm glad that you asked. So you said a funny little word. You said WiM Collaboratory. WiM.
I know.
But for some of our listeners are really familiar with WiM because it stands for Women in the Marketplace.
Yes.
And we love Women in the Marketplace so much so that we've actually merged with them this year. And as you know, you were a part of WiM.
Yes.
And so was our wonderful VP of Business Partnerships, Catherine Gates. If you don't know her, get to know her. She's amazing. But WiM started something called Collaboratories or WiM Collaboratories. And so if you see that, you'll know what that is. But collaboratories are leadership peer groups. And so these are women that it's a small group. It's like 8 to 12 people max. We like them small and intimate from all over, all different kinds of industries that get together and they walk through a leadership curriculum for 1 year. So it's a monthly, year-long commitment. And they really grow deep with the women in these groups. And each session is a little bit different. And it's designed to take you through a leadership track that shows you biblical principles for leadership, shows you how Jesus did it in his walk. But it also provides a community so that you can bring those tough work questions to a trusted group and you can work through those things together biblically, prayerfully, and in community. There are a lot of C-level executives have access to these kind of peer groups, but not every working woman does. And so it makes me thrilled that the Polished Network can actually offer these to women at any level in their career to grow and be a part. And, you know, you might be in a peer group with somebody else in your city, or that might be a C-suite level person, or you might be a college, exiting college, entry level engineer. But I just love that the collective wisdom of women and the wisdom of Scripture combined together to help grow you in your professional walk. And so that's a leadership peer group or a WiM Collaboratory. It's a collaboration in a kind of a laboratory setting. That's why we love the word collaboratory.
Yes. Collaboratory. It's great. I'm co-facilitating one here in Cincinnati. And to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying about making this leadership development available to all women of different leadership levels, my group, our diversity is within the age and the experience in the group. And so, and what's been neat is yes, the older generation is pouring into the younger, but I've also seen where the younger has poured back into the older generation, providing different perspectives. And it's just like God's at work. Like, it's so cool to see how he weaves our stories together. And I don't know, it feels like we've had this instant connection from day one. Like we really focused on building that relationship, but everyone went deep like right away. And that was so cool.
Jane, I think just to kind of go off script a little bit here.
Yeah, sure.
As a women's pastor, man, there were two top things that I heard were kind of the biggest aches of working women. One being anxiety.
Yeah. Yep.
Anxiety, depression, and how to juggle the mental load.
Sure.
The second most common thing that I heard, it's kind of a heart hurt, is isolation and this lack of space for women to go deep and really, really be known, a lack of a space to be able to share some of the things that are really haunting them or hurting them or worrying them. And for so many women, some of these areas where they really needed to work through some of these things were the workplaces, right? Some of the issues that they were facing. And so, to me, the collaboratory isn't just something neat that we get to check off of our list of something that we've added to, to our repertoire of things to help working women, but it really is meeting a felt need of so many women. And the fact that your group was able to dive in quickly and go deep quickly is proof in the pudding that this was a huge need. You really did scratch the itch of what working women need, and I think that's really beautiful. I think it's biblical. I think it's God-given.
Yeah.
And so it's one of the most exciting things that I think that developed over the course of this merger with Women in the Marketplace, WiM. So thank you for Jane for doing that, for being available to the Holy Spirit and his leading in that. I think that you're advancing the kingdom by the way that you're providing that space for women to go deep and struggle together.
Yeah. Well, it really truly is my pleasure to be a part of it. Like, I definitely think God's growing me in this area of facilitation. I've led lots of small groups
You're
before.
good at it.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you. And it's just like, I feel like adding that business level to it is the area where I'm being stretched and grown and just, it's just an honor to sit in the room and just to hold these women's stories and to hold space with these women who are, struggling. And it's very incredible to me just that right away. Like, honestly, I probably knew one or two women in the room to start the group.
Yeah.
And the fact that the other women were just ready. They were so, and it was just, I could feel it. Like, you think that the Holy Spirit's, leading you and like women are craving this, and then you experience it. Like, you're like, oh my gosh, what a service to provide for these women. It's so incredible.
I so wish that I had it during a transition in my own career. I was hired for a role, an awesome role. And the very first thing that I had to do, my very first task, was to let 3 people go.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And these weren't subordinate people. These were talented, needed, wonderful people.
Yeah.
But just the nature of the finances and those kinds of things, like, I wish I had never done that in my life. And I wish I had had a peer group like that, like a collaboratory, to be able to talk to, like, how do I do this? Like, how do I enter into that kind of conversation with someone, I'm about to change their whole, months of their life,
Sure.
And how do I do that? How do I have that conversation? I wish I had had a group like a collaboratory to be able to bring that to. So thank you for doing that.
Oh. Well, like I said, it's truly my pleasure. And if you want to get involved with a WiM Collaboratory, you can go to polishnetwork.org. And on the main menu, there's a WiM Collaboratory button that will give you all the information of how to get connected with what's currently happening. And I know that there will be probably new groups to be launched in 2024 as well. That's the hope anyway. Correct?
Yes. It's more of a, it's gone beyond hope. There's now like work being done to establish new ones. And maybe it's one of those things that you're like, we desperately need this in Paul Huska, or we need this in Anchorage, Alaska, like we want to talk to you about that for sure. We are also discussing the possibility of a virtual collaboratory too. So
that's cool.
If that is something that listeners are interested in, man, we sure would love to chat with you.
Yes, for sure. So reach out. Do not hesitate.
Right.
Amy, another avenue we have are online resources. Could you just kind of share with with our audience what kind of online resources that Polish Network offers?
Yeah. I mean, if you go to polishnetwork.org to our website and hit resources, you can see a whole bunch listed there.
Yes.
What's really cool is we are actually bringing some of the resources over from Women in the Marketplace. So if you've been a part of WiM and you've loved the blog and you've loved some of those resources, keep checking back. We are adding to those regularly, and you'll see some of those resources that you have loved. But we also have a list of some wonderful books that our co-founder, Kat Armstrong, has written, some Bible studies there. Maybe you're like, I would love to do a Bible study at work. I would love to do one before work or after work. We will hook you up. We have some great resources that are wonderful for working women, for not working women. So there's some great books there. Catherine Gates, who is the VP of Business Partnership for Polished, has a wonderful book called The Confidence Cornerstone. Maybe if you are, struggling with your confidence in your work, that is a wonderful resource for you. It's also great for a group. So that's another one. My favorite thing probably as a resource is our newsletter. And that is free for you to sign up for. Just give us your email. We promise we will not spam you or steal your email, but we would love to send you our monthly newsletter. It is one of my favorite things that we do. It's so simple, but we have wonderful articles written by people that are connected with the Polish Network, things that are really just wonderfully beneficial. But we also have a section that I love called Things We Love. And these are things like, I think one time we put like my Stanley mug. I love my Stanley mug. But things like that we're really enjoying. If you want a really good pen, sometimes we'll put in like, here's a great pen. If you're a nerd like me and you love that, there's a whole section on that. And then also it's a wonderful resource to stay connected to what's going on at the Polish Network. We share some of our news, some of our events, those kinds of things. So I would really encourage you to sign up for that newsletter. It's beautiful. It's one of those things that when you get in your email, you don't want to pass it by. You want to read it. It's a quick read, but I really love that. So I would just check those things out on the resource tab on the polishnetwork.org website.
All right, friends, we're going to hit pause for just a moment to let you in on some exciting opportunities to be a part of the Polish Network experience, so stick with us for more. Are you a working woman looking to elevate your leadership this year? WiM Collaboratories could be your next right step in moving forward in your leadership development. WiM Collaboratories are small groups modeled after executive peer groups, yet available to working women at all levels of leadership. Collaboratory members dive into leadership training with a faith-forward perspective for 12 months. This is your opportunity to tap into diverse perspectives, conquer challenges, and achieve your goals in a united sisterhood. New groups are launching in 2024. We want you to be a part of it, so go to polishnetwork.org/collaboratories to learn more. Our fourth avenue is the Boldly Conference, and we are gearing up for 2024.
That's right.
Yeah. Can you give us like a little insight as to like what are some key themes we might be exploring, or what can attendees look forward to?
So October 18th, 2024 is the next Boldly Conference. If you came this year, you know how wonderful it is. If you did not get a chance to participate in the Boldly Conference, which is the first of its kind faith and work conference by women for women. It's the first of its kind. I can't even believe that. We started in 2021, and I can't believe that by 2021, there wasn't a faith and work conference by women for women. That just blows my mind. We were the first of its kind. And that was started by our then executive director, Joy Dahl. It was her she birthed the idea, and God just took it and ran with it. And it's a fabulous conference. We do try to hit both fronts, professional and personal or spiritual development. We try not to de-silo those. So it's a wonderful professional development opportunity. Some women get credit for going from the workplaces. And so that's really great. But this next year, we're exploring, and this is actually new news.
All right. Breaking news.
We don't have it all wordsmith. It's not
Sure.
all like fancy yet, but the theme that we're exploring is unity. Like not just community, but unity in the body and how women can lead the way in unity.
Oh, I love that.
2024 will be an election year. That's always fun.
Yep.
That's always fun. So unifying.
Yes. I'm already sweaty from it, honestly.
I know.
About it.
So the timing is perfect. The timing is perfect. But I really believe that women can lead the way when it comes to unity in the body, unity in our nation, unity in the world. So, and that unity that we're talking about is the union that we have through our Savior, Jesus Christ. And so I'm so excited about that. We have amazing speakers already jumping on board. I'll list a few off the top of my head that I can remember. Jenny Catron, she's kind of a guru in this leading culture, how in the workplace, working women who are believers can engage in the culture. I'm really excited about having her. We have Nikki Allison Lawrence. She's the president of Black & Decker. Man, I want to talk to her.
Awesome.
President of a tool company. And
sure.
I'm so excited about that. I know. Kat Armstrong, I mentioned her several times. She's the co-founder of the Polish Network, but she is an executive coach. She is an amazing author. You might have heard her speak before. She just blows the walls off anywhere she speaks. But you can actually go to boldlyconference.com and check that out. See who all is coming. It's going to be a great year.
It is going to be. I'm so excited. I went to it in person for the first time this past fall, and it was awesome. And what was cool was just to be in community with other working women, and a lot of them were in were Texas natives, but then there's people who came from all over. Like I was just really floored as to just the diversity in locations where women were flying in from, and then we were just all together seeking how to honor God with the work that we do, and how to grow and be led well and to care for ourselves well. And I don't know, I just thought it was a really awesome opportunity to broaden our perspective and to grow in our leadership together. It was so awesome.
I'm excited for the women that you got to interview, Jane. I know that's coming up too. I love, if you're listening, Jane was there, and anytime a speaker, like we had amazing speakers like Joe Saxton was amazing. We had Cindy Monroe, who's the CEO and founder of 31. You might have some of their luggage or bags in your home. But every time somebody would step off the stage, you'd grab them and do a quick interview. So I'm excited to hear from them. And but next year we'll do the same. And, if you're not able to, it's in person in Dallas in a little suburb called Carrollton at Bent Tree Bible Fellowship is where we'll be recording. We'd love for you to make the trip to Dallas on October 18th. But if you can't, buy the recording. You can do that. You can show it any time of year. You can get a little group in your home, or you can watch it yourself. But we would really encourage everyone to participate in that Boldly Conference. It is just such an enriching experience.
Check all of that out at the website, boldlyconference.com. Tickets are on sale right now for Boldly 2024. There's access to the recordings that you can purchase, and all that information and the speaker lineup that we have coming for you in Boldly 2024 this October. So be sure to go to boldlyconference.com to check that out. We'll also link that in our show notes below. But, as we wrap up this conversation today, Amy, like you had mentioned earlier, our stories really started to intertwine when we went through this merger with Women in the Marketplace and Polish Network, because we just saw that we're on the same mission. That's right. And what would it look like to just do it together? And that's what I'm really excited about, to see how God is going to grow this mission and our impact together. That's right. What's the vision for Polish Network in the coming years, and how do you see it evolving or expanding?
Yeah, it's such a good question. We kind of have this attitude like, God, whatever you want for us, and there's really a strategic plan that there's an aspect of our strategic planning that we always want to engage, and that's prayer. And
Yes.
so even with this merger with Women in the Marketplace, we didn't just think, oh, this makes sense, from a revenue standpoint. We actually didn't
Right.
think about that at all. What we asked the Lord is, what's our next faithful step? And we did that by meeting. We put it to prayer. We actually, there's a wonderful organization called, I'm just going to give them a shout out. It's called Attune to Grow. And it's founded and led by Tracy Matthews, who was actually one of the speakers at Boldly this year. But she helps organizations and companies with their strategic planning, but it's done through prayer. And so she actually guided us through this process. And so what's on the horizon for us is we're going to continue to seek God in prayer for what he has next for us. We do believe that there are some collaboratory type opportunities that are arising between other organizations like ours.
That's cool.
We're actually going to be gathering in March with some key leaders from other organizations and just saying, hey, what does it look like to cheer one another on? How do we get rid of this whole notion that we need to compete with one another? And how do we, in fact, point women to our organizations? How do we lead for one another? Nona Jones last year at Boldly, she said something that really stuck with me. She said, you cannot compete against people you cheer for. Think about that. The cheerleaders on the sideline are not competing against the players on the field. They're on the same team. They're doing different things, but they're on the same team. And so I know what's next for Polish is for us to continue to do that, to strengthen relationships with other organizations like ours. The harvest is plenty. The workers are few. There's, 40 some odd million working women that call Christ their savior, that identify with Christianity, yet less than a third are involved in any kind of community, faith-based community, whether that's a church or a collaboratory or a chapter. So there's work to be done there.
Yeah.
We will continue to offer our chapters. That part of our DNA does not change. We are very committed to helping women gather in community for their own selves and for the sake of the kingdom. So that will not change with the Polish Network. And so we'll continue to do that. We're hoping to expand. We have 3 chapters that we'll be adding, I know, in the spring. And we hope we will take as many more. If there's 2 directors and willing to start, we'd love to have a conversation with you. So we'll continue to do that as well. But that's kind of what's on our horizon as an organization.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think I've told you before, like, I'm all in. What I love about the heart of Polish's mission is the collaboration piece and just how we really don't see competition, because I almost feel like competition is silly, especially when we're all on the path of spreading God's kingdom. Like when we're like in the business of that and building God's kingdom, what does that look like? And I'm really excited to be a part of it. And I can't wait to see how God grows it in 2024.
Same.
Yes. So, well, Amy, how can listeners, both new and existing, actively engage with Polished and stay up to date on events and opportunities? How can they connect?
Yeah, well, reach out. It's all over the website. You can reach out to me personally if you'd like. It's Amy at polishednetwork.org. That's an easy way to do it. Maybe we can put that in the show notes. But go to the Polished Network. And if you've not yet signed up for that newsletter, get on our mailing list. We promise we will not spam you. We'd love to be able to reach out to you and welcome you in. I do think that sometimes when people hear podcasts like this, it kind of matches up to what the Holy Spirit's already been doing in your life. And maybe that's you who's listening today. And you know that God has been tapping you on the shoulder, asking you to take a next faithful step. And maybe you heard something today, like maybe the idea of starting a chapter where women get together once a month to hear from a speaker, to gather. Maybe that has really got your juices flowing. Or maybe it's the idea of a collaboratory, this more kind of formal peer leadership group. Maybe he's tapping you on the shoulder and saying, hey, that's it. And if that's you, we want to be a part of that process. We want to help you through that. We want to guide you through that. We have an amazing team. Jane can tell you that will help you start. And if God is asking you to do that, we want to be the wind beneath your wings as far as getting going. So maybe this is your chance. Maybe God is matching an opportunity with a burden that you've been feeling. Let's help connect the dots. We would love to do that for any listener that might be motivated to do that.
Awesome. Well, yes, I second that. You know, if God's prompting you, if the Holy Spirit's moving, reach out. You can go to polishnetwork.org to start. And there you're going to find links to all the things that we've talked about throughout this episode. Connect with Amy if you want to just, go straight to the source. She would love to hear from you. But thank you so much, Amy, for just taking the time to share the vision and the heart and the mission of Polish Network. And I'm excited to see what God does in 2024.
Me too. It's been my pleasure. Thanks so much, Jane.
Well, if you don't know, now you know. This is Polish Network. If this is the first time you've tuned in, you just got a front row seat to the heartbeat and the mission of the Polish community. Polish Network is a special place, led by a network of spectacular women like Amy Cedrone, who support ambitious women through creating opportunities for us to connect with one another and to grow in our leadership. Amy unveiled some exciting plans for Polish this year, and I can't wait to see how God leads us in this mission. I mean, if you're a foodie like me, consider this episode to be your amuse-bouche to your Polish Network experience, because today was just a taste of what's to come. And let me assure you, the best is yet to come. So stay tuned and welcome to the Polish Network. As we draw near to the end of this episode, I want to extend our deepest appreciation to those who make the Polish podcast possible. Special thanks to our listeners for your unwavering support. Your engagement, your feedback is crucial, and it drives us to create content that resonates with you. A heartfelt thank you to the Polish Network for cultivating a community where working women can thrive and connect. And last, but certainly not least, a big shout out to our Executive Director, Amy Cedrone, for her leadership, passion, and wisdom as she continues to guide the Polish Network team and its resources to embolden women in their faith and work. I mean, as you can imagine, it's a joy to do this work.
It makes me thrilled that the Polish Network can actually offer these to women at any level in their career.
And to learn more about our thrilling work, stay connected, tell a friend about what you've learned, and check us out on social media and our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe, rate and review the Polished Podcast. Until next time, this is Jane Dorman signing off. Keep moving forward and remain emboldened.